Hey, once again, people. Now, presumably you've read the video title or you've seen the thumbnail, so you know exactly why we're here. This is the Atari 2600 Plus that was just recently released. And this video was actually meant to go out like last week, well, exactly like a week ago. But unfortunately, I did not receive this thing in time due to the fact that there was a problem in shipping. And this thing ended up making a cross-country trip before it arrived to me. And the funny thing is that I don't live very far from where this thing was shipped from, like maybe no more than about like 2 hours drive. But it got to the point where it was only about like 30 minutes drive away from me. And then it went like radio silent for a couple days. Next thing I know, it's all the way down in Florida, which is like all the way on the opposite side of the country. So it took an extra 4 days to arrive. But we're here now, so we're doing this. And if you don't know anything about this thing, it's basically it's like a new version of the old Atari 2600, and it can actually play cartridges, unlike something like, say, the Atari Flashback, which just has like 20 games that are built in, and you just hook this up to like a TV or whatever. So this one here will play actual game cartridges. Oh wait, that's a Lego cartridge. Actual game cartridges. So we should be able to stick these into the console there, and it should be able to play them. It has a HDMI output, so that's definitely a huge upgrade from what the original used to be. Now, I can tell you one thing that kind of disappointed me when I received this thing, and that was the size of the box. Because I was expecting this thing to be, you know, like about the size of the original consoles, which is, I don't know, maybe like something about like that big. But judging by the size of the box, we're getting nothing, you know, anywhere near that size. But that's probably on me, because I guess I maybe didn't go through the listing on the website and all that stuff about this thing to get like actual device like dimensions and all that. So yeah, that's on me. But let's see, we've got some tape down here. Ah, here's the blade. Okay, so I have not opened this up for myself. So, well, I mean, it's a decent size. It's just not what I was expecting. I was kind of hoping for something, you know, a little bigger and actual size. But it feels somewhat similar to the original console. These switches here do feel a little stiffer. But weight-wise, it feels hefty, I guess. It doesn't feel like too light, like it's completely cheap. So, yeah, that's the actual console there. Here's an original Atari cartridge. That fits in there just fine. Then on the back, we got our HDMI video output there, our switches, difficulty switches. That there is a like aspect ratio. Oh, and it uses USB-C power. I did not know that. I've been trying to avoid like watching any videos about this thing because I did not want like any spoilers. I wanted to experience this thing for myself. So if you've seen other videos about this and noticing that I'm kind of like surprised by some of it, that's why. I really did not want to like spoil it or anything like that. So what's this? A quick guide. Oh, and this does come with a game cartridge, so I guess it's going to be in here in the box somewhere. Ah, there it is. So this has 10 games in one cartridge. And, yep, it looks like an Atari, well, mostly. It's a little different on the design in there. There we go. So, kind of crazy to me to be holding a brand new cartridge in 2023. Well, it's almost 2024, but, yeah. Alright, gonna go on this box from the underside. Ah, there's the joystick. So, I guess it feels somewhat similar. I do have some original joysticks in a box over here somewhere. Maybe I'll go dig one up and do like a quick little comparison, see how it feels. I mean, obviously, not that you're going to be able to feel how it feels, but I can tell you if there's a difference. And that's it for that box. See what else we got in here. We got an HDMI cable, a USB-C cable. Does it not include a power supply? Yeah, so it does not come with the power supply. I did not know that, but it doesn't really matter too much. I happen to have like several USB-C power supplies around here. and actually happen to have the one from the Steam Deck right here next to the workbench because I was using it. So how convenient that I just happen to have that here. Okay, so, well, let's open it up. We're not even going to turn it on yet. It's got 4 Phillips screws on the bottom. Presumably that's going to be it. Let's move all this stuff here off to the side. We'll also look inside the controller and see how that's built. Now, I don't want to damage the finish on this thing or anything because I do want to, eventually use it. So I'm just going to put it on top of this piece of foam here because there's like a bunch of like little debris and stuff on the workbench. I don't want it to like scratch it all up. So this is going to help cushion it a bit. Let's see what we got inside. Oh, and here on the bottom it says input is 5 volts, 1 amp. So it doesn't even use like really high USB-C voltages or anything like that. Now I can't imagine that the board inside of here is going to be very big at all, but that's actually bigger than I expected. No. Well, then again, it's got to have all this board over here for the switches and stuff, but it's actually like a sandwich of 3 boards. Well, 3 layers deep. It's actually 4 boards because it's got the 2 switch boards here off to the side. Let's get some better lighting up in here. And this is going to be like the CPU board or SoC. We've got the board here with all the output or the ports in the back. And oh, it actually has an LED up here, so it lights up that little logo up there in the front. I'm not sure what color that is. As I said, I've avoided like having any spoilers or anything about this thing. You got a bunch of these little blocks here. Looks like those are just for support so that you can't like squish this thing together or something. This is all removable. It's got a few screws there. Now this SoC board, it's got 2 screws right there, and then it looks like it's just on headers. So this entire board should come off. So it's like the chip is going to be right there in the middle. Take a guess that there's probably going to be like RAM over here somewhere. This is probably going to be like interface stuff for the HDMI maybe. It's just a guess though. Let's see what we've got. All right, here goes. Big reveal. Well, I guess I was a little wrong. That's actually the RAM. That's the SoC. And that's a flash chip, looks like. I don't know the size just yet. I can't see the numbers. But, oh, no. The HDMI stuff goes straight into the SoC. I guess I should have known that. Recover button. That's interesting. I wonder what that does. Maybe it, like, resets all. Well, I mean, it's not accessible from the outside, so that must have been like an internal type of testing thing. There's a USB port right here. So I'm wondering if you could just power this straight off of USB. I wonder what happens if you plug in a USB power supply here and an HDMI cable. Maybe we'll try that, but what else do we have? So this is the interface board. That's you can see there's the ROM cartridge slot. Let's go ahead and remove that. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screws. Hopefully I don't break this thing before I have a chance to actually try it out. Looks like I should remove these screws there for the switches while I'm at it. They are on like flat flex cables. You can see them all the way down there at the bottom. This LED will unplug from right here, so just leave that. That's a little wonky. I totally didn't realize it until just now, but oh man. Yeah, instead of making like kind of like a little dedicated board or something to put that LED on and then running a little cable to it, they just stuck the 2 pins from the LED into that connector. So, holy crap, that's probably the jankiest looking thing in here so far. That's not ideal. That post right there for the screw for the case is already cracked. Looks like that's the only one though. I don't know if maybe somebody torqued it down a little too hard or what. And it looks like it's already kind of like split pretty far down there. About a ½ inch or so, about 10 centimeters. Not great, but oh well. Okay. Now, will this board come out? Okay, this board will not release easily from here, and these switches are going to kind of like prevent it from being able to just like pop up towards the front, and me like lifting up right here really is not moving very much. So it looks like I'm going to need to remove that screw, and the screws that are like in there. And that looks like it might release like this little faceplate piece right there and allow me to maybe like maneuver the board a little bit more. Now, interestingly, it's got extra holes right here on the side to hold that little faceplate piece in place, but it looks like they only used the 4 inside ones. No idea why. Maybe cost savings or something. Save on some screws. Oh, and I just noticed this. There's a, looks like there's a serial port right there. It's got ground, RX, TX, and 5 volts. But on the other side, it doesn't go to anything. I mean, we'll take a better look at it later, but looks like there's a resistor between that ground and the 5 volts. And if I could get the board, we can actually see all that. All right, I'm having a hard time figuring out how this thing is supposed to come out, but it looks like maybe I am going to have to remove these screws right here. There's another 8 screws that hold like that there, that one, and then on the opposite side is basically the same thing, just mirrored. So let's remove those. See if we get anywhere. There it goes. The front is definitely much looser now. Still not coming out though. Maybe I need to get those screws to fall out. All right, all those screws are out, and looks like the front. Yeah, there it goes. This sort of like little bezel piece there is finally coming out, and all the switches are falling out. Ah, I see. Okay, now this will come out. Okay, so there is the rest of the case. I'm gonna move this board over here off to the side. All right, so that is the entire top of the case there. We see you got just those 4 mounting screws there. So those 4 did need to come off, as well as the 8 on the switch boards. So that's the cartridge slot, the cover there in the middle. And yeah, that's it for that. So not much else to see here on the case other than the little front part here can come off with those 3 screws. Not really going to bother doing that because it's kind of pointless. But yeah, that's it for that. So now let's take a look at the interesting bits. So yeah, these are the switch covers. So they're just basically like double pull, double throw slide switches. And actually, no, that's a single pull double throw. So they've got 2 different types of switches in use here. They got this right here where it's got kind of like a staggered pin out. Then they got this where it's like kind of it's an inline pin out. Oh, but then again, these switches are you know, like latched to either side. The ones on this side are, oops, they are just like spring-loaded switches. So that probably has something to do with the difference there. Or maybe they chose these inline ones and these are staggered so that they can't be like accidentally mixed up where they put like a momentary switch over on this side and they put one of these, you know, over on this side or something. So it could be just a like a production thing. That's just a guess. I have no idea. So now that these are out, we can at least remove the ribbons here off the board. This is the type that has that little latch that like kind of pulls upwards and towards the back. So that should slide out. And yeah, not much on there. So no point really in taking that apart any further. Contacts there are actually, it looks like they're doubled up. So I'm guessing one's maybe going to be like a ground and then the other side is going to be, you know, like what makes contact with that side. So you really don't need much for this. So very simple board and very simple functionality with those switches. So that's all that is. On the opposite side, looks like we've got a little bit more going on because we've got a total of 1, 2, 3, like 4 different contacts that I can tell, or maybe 5. There might be another one that comes in here from the top onto that pin there that we can't, that we don't see anything like solder to, like right there. So maybe that comes up this way. So it's got a little bit more going on, but still basically a similar type of construction there where we just have the traces here going to like different points on these switches. So that's pretty much about it for that. So another thing that's not really worth taking apart there. So we'll just leave that as is. And here is the rest of the board. Definitely a lot more going on electronically there than I originally thought, but it looks like this is interface stuff for the cartridge. And something interesting about this cartridge is that it has these 2 extra sets of contacts here on the side. The original Atari didn't have those, but I think that this is compatible with 7800 cartridges. I'm not entirely sure. I only ever had a 2600, and as you can see, it only has contacts like right there. So it doesn't use these outer ones. Yeah, I can't really speak to those. I don't know enough about later consoles, as I said. So let's see if we can tell what these are there. I don't know if they're even marked. There's that resistor I was talking about between the ground and the 5 volts. So that may be for like debugging purposes or something. And it's funny that all these like points here are like labeled as to what they are. These right here are all labeled as well. So it looks like it says U1 and U2. So this is probably, oh, that looks like JTAG ports. So I think these are the JTAG ports for the two ICs on the board here. So these are probably like maybe not FPGAs. They might be like CPLDs. Unless they are FPGAs and they're loading their configuration from that flash on the main SoC board over here. But it looks like that just goes off to the SoC, so maybe not. I don't know. We've got a little switching power supply right there, looks like. Another tiny little IC that I cannot see with the naked eye. And what is that? That looks like that might be some sort of like a USB hub chip. Yeah, and then we've got our two controller ports. Those go to, looks like they also go off to these two devices. So looks like one of these is doing the interfacing for the cartridge. The other one is doing the interfacing for the controller ports. These two switches looks like they go off to the SoC board like directly. Yeah, that's about it on this board. Let's take a closer look at it and see what some of this stuff is. Yeah, so these two ICs, they're not marked, so who knows what they actually are. This one here has a line drawn through it, so I don't know if maybe that was to like differentiate between the two, because it looks like maybe they might be the same exact component. They're just configured differently. That's probably going to be the switching. Yeah, that looks like it's going to be the like little switching controller. It's connected directly to that inductor. Maybe another little voltage regulator right there. Looks like it says Cry EA. Yeah, go Cry EA. CH444G. Let me look that up real fast and see if we can figure out what it is. All right, so that is not a USB chip. That is a analog switch IC, and it looks like it's got 4 single pole double throw switches inside of it. And so we can see here that we've got 4 outputs, and then we have a total of like 8 inputs. So each output can switch between 2 inputs, or not even like double throw. It looks like each one can be off, unless I mean I can't read any of this, but maybe it can like select between either this one or none. I'm not sure. So this right here probably explains it a little better. So you can select between that one and that one. So yeah, it looks like it is like double throw, and it just selects like one at a time. You can't deselect them both. Although there is looks like right here it's an enable pin. So maybe if the enable is not like asserted or whatever, then none of the outputs are going to be, you know, whatever the input is. I don't know. So yeah, and it looks like there's different configuration types of these ICs. So yeah, not a USB chip. And that there's the serial port pins that I was talking about, and you can see how the traces kind of go off here, and they go off onto the SoC board. So let's take a look at the SoC board now. So that there's using a Rockchip RK3128. I don't know anything about these, so I can't give you the specs, although we can look it up real quick, see what we can find. All right, here we go. Here's a Rockchip Wiki, RK3128. High-performance quad-core applications processor for smart TV box. Especially, it is a high-integration and cost-efficient SoC for 1080p H.265 TV box. So, yada, yada, yada. It's got a bunch of stuff built in. And then here's all the, like, technical specs. I'd say it's, I mean, it's a little more advanced than the original Atari 2600. I mean, I think, maybe. The memory IC is a SK Hynix H5TQ2G63GFR RDC. And I found a datasheet for that. So that's this part right here. It's arranged as 128 megabit by 16. So essentially it's a 256 megabyte like total chip. And that RDC at the end there just kind of denotes like the speed grade. So that would be like this one right there. The flash IC, that's a TC58NVG1S3HTA00. And that's this one right here. That's also a 2 gigabit chip, and it's Yeah, so it's this package right here with all these specs for it. Other stuff around this board is we got a couple of little switching power supplies right there. So that's probably going to be like various voltages for like the SoC, maybe the RAM, stuff like that. Right there, we've got looks like this is probably some more like power stuff, maybe some linear regulators, maybe. Not sure. Bunch of other small passive components all over the place. And there's that little recover button. Yeah, so I got curious as to whether or not this particular board could be, maybe like an off-the-shelf development board or something. So I went on Google here and I just typed in Rockchip RK3128 development board to see if maybe, like I could find a similar chip or a similar board being, sold or advertised somewhere. And I don't see any that are, identical to this one. But as you can see, there's like so many different like variations and like shapes and sizes and all that. So, I mean, I wouldn't doubt that maybe it could still be like an off the board, off the shelf like board. So, yeah, let's see what happens if we plug in power to here and just hook this up to HDMI. All right, I've got HDMI cable coming into here, and this is hooked up to a power supply. Let me bring in and let's apply power, see if it comes up. There's no LEDs or anything on this board, so, it just, yeah, so, whether it's powered from the USB-C or this little port right here, it just brings up the OS. So, yeah, nothing weird there, or nothing interesting, really. Alright, so, the controller, it's very identical to, like, an original controller. As you can see here, looks like it may have to have like been like recreated from scratch because it doesn't look exactly the same. Like you can see, well, it's hard to see on video, but like the design of this circular portion here on the original, it looks like it's like a little more sort of like beveled edges there. This one here looks like it's a little more like straight going down. But other than that, like everything else is pretty similar. One thing I did notice is that the button on the original controller here is feels a little more sort of like springy, and the new one here, it has more of like a tactile click to it, so that may be some sort of a dome switch that's being used in there. And as far as like the bottom of it goes, on the original, we can see how they've sort of like distributed these little rubber feet, kind of like around the edges. And this one here, they've got one more a little bit inward right here, which is, I don't know why they would have done that. On the original controller here, you can see how I can push down on the button and it just kind of still just sits there. I mean, it's rocking a little bit because it's not exactly flat. But on this new one, if you set this down and you push here, you can see how it just kind of like tilts forward, which, I mean, obviously you wouldn't be using this just like that, but I just thought that was an interesting little change there. And other things, we can see how on the original we had 4 screws there along the bottom. I'm guessing on this one they're hidden underneath these rubber feet. And so, yeah, it kind of feels like it's hollow underneath there, so I'm gonna have to remove those to get to the screws so we can compare the internals. As far as the joystick goes, the old one, something I never liked about this old one is that it feels like very, very stiff. And it could have just been like all the worn ones that I, tried out. But it seemed like you had to push like or pull like really hard in order to get it to respond. This new one here feels a little softer and maybe it'll be more responsive. Well, it kind of feels weird with this condom on here, so let's just take it off. And I mean, yeah, it feels better without the condom on. So yeah, let's open it up and see what's inside. We'll compare the two. All right, so that's out right there. You can see how all the buttons and the switches for the joystick are all mounted on this PCB. It's like old phenolic board material. And so, yeah, that's all that. I just realized I don't think I was ever clicking that button there when I was pushing down. Oh, no, yeah, it feels like it clicks, but it has to like, it's not just where it stops. You have to like go further a little bit down. Okay, looks like you don't even have to travel that far to get it to click. So I think maybe the controllers I've used in the past were just a little too worn on the little buttons. So yeah, that's how that one works. A bunch of little domes taped to this board, and all the wires here come into this connector that just kind of grips the slots that they've cut out for those. So I haven't seen one of these in forever. I actually wasn't entirely sure what to expect, but yeah, that's the old school construction of one of these controllers. And now let's see how this new one looks. I'm gonna try to pull these off where I don't remove all of that double-sided tape. Okay, so that was mostly successful. I lost a little bit of material on some of those, but for the most part, it's fine. I can stick them back on. And just like the other one, we have 4 screws as well, except these are much smaller. You can see how the original joystick screws, they're really big and long. New ones are kind of tiny. There we are. So pretty similar design with the single board there. This does have a connector that we can remove. So we got those 2 small screws right there, and they have a little diagram of the pin out of the joystick ports. That's pretty interesting. That's in here. All right, so that's those 2 screws removed. This board comes out. And so yeah, it's basically like a little silicone dome there. And actually the joystick buttons are also on like a big silicone like D-pad type kind of like a shape here. So yeah, it just goes like that. And then it pushes those conductive rubber pads onto the pads there that are built onto the board. Yeah, extremely basic design. There's absolutely like no actual active electronics or anything inside of these. It's just buttons. Unlike like say like NES controllers, Super NES controllers, where they have a shift register to read the button inputs and then transfer those off to the like CPU. None of that going on in here. Well, I guess we can see how the joysticks sort of work here. So let's move this off to the side here. And on the original, it actually, I just realized that the way that this top portion where I'll just take this button off, where this like rubber molded stuff is, it's inserted in a very, very similar manner to the original, where it's got these little snaps that kind of come through the top of the case. So this is the part that actually pushes on the buttons, and this is the new one. So the design of these is very similar. Okay, so those tabs there are sort of holding like this inner ring here that the joystick kind of was holding down this rubber part of the joystick. I just kind of tilted this out a bit and it just ended up like pulling out. So now I got to actually remove this entire ring to be able to get this back in, at least if I want to not struggle. So I just got to finish popping it out. Well, I'll do that in a bit here. I'm kind of struggling to begin with. So I have a feeling that this is probably the same thing. That plastic ring is holding down the rubber joystick part. And there it goes. It popped out completely. So yeah, that's the rubber outer part. And so it's like one entire like a molded piece. This is not several pieces. And that's what holds it in. So that just has to go on there like that, where it matches up with those little cutouts. Although depending on where it's placed, it's going to change the orientation of the flat sides and the corners here. So if it's like that, you see how we have now like this, these corners are kind of like towards the top and towards the bottom. And then if we have it like that, we got the flat sides there. So I don't know which position it was in when I took it apart. I didn't realize that it wasn't going to be like indexed in any sort of way or anything like that. So I guess I'm going to have to watch the video and see how it was originally oriented so that I can put it back the same way it was. So yeah, I'll just leave this aside for now. No, that's pretty much all there is to see with that. So I'm going to put stuff back together, and then we'll hook it up and give it a little test run. Hopefully I didn't mess anything up. So I went back and reviewed some of the video that I recorded already, and mine was arranged to where these edges are one's towards the top and one's towards the bottom, and then these flat sides are towards like left and right. But I noticed that on the box, it's actually the other way around. You got the flats like, you know, up and down, and then you've got the edges are like going towards the left and right. So I guess it just depends on who builds it and how they position it. It makes no difference. All right, so we're probably just going to speed through this real quick and putting it back together. So that goes there. All right, so this is not a good feeling. I was putting in the screws to hold the case back shut, and I did not realize that this post here is also cracked. And I didn't crack it because I hadn't even like put like a lot of force or anything on it. It was just cracked from the factory. I was trying to tighten that screw down. Oh, I didn't put one there. And I realized that it was just like, it just continuously kept rotating and it just never really tightened down. So that's when I opened it back up and I realized that it was broken. So yeah, that one there feels good. And I mean, these other two should feel fine because they're not cracked. But that's, yeah, not very good build quality, I guess. All right, that's back together. Feels about the same. Okay, looks like this board here, I should have put it on before I put everything else back in because it's a little difficult to get it back in and to get those pins to align to their socket once everything else is already in. I did manage to do it, but it would have been easier if I had just done it before the fact. So just got the last two screws here to attach. Oh yeah, by the way, there's there's pads there for like a micro SD card socket. That's just not populated. And there we go. That's the last of it. So internally, this thing, it's not too terrible in my opinion. Looks like there were, you know, maybe like a few corners cut. Especially with something like that LED right there. But I think everything here should be good now. Yeah, so... yeah, just got to put the bottom cover on, and then we'll hook it all up and give it a little test run. Okay, so I didn't bother to put on the bottom screws on just yet in case I plug this in and it, it doesn't power up for whatever reason, and I have to go back in there, or if like the buttons don't respond or whatever. So let's plug in HDMI cable, bring in that USB-C cable. And let's connect the joystick. Alrighty. That's all for that. And okay, so let's try out this 10-in-1 games cartridge. And at first, I was like, why would they not have like little images for the games that are on this? And I didn't even know what this signified until I flipped it over and I realized that there's dip switches on the back of this. So that's how it selects the different games that are on the cartridge. So I'm actually kind of wondering if this is just basically a ROM in there that has the these dip switches, like select a different address so that it can load the proper game. I don't know if this is screwed together or if it's just like snapped. Oh, it looks like it's just snapped, so maybe I can open it up real fast and look. Okay, this is being a little more difficult to open than I thought it would be, and it turns out there are, I didn't feel them before, but yeah, it feels like there are maybe a couple screws, like one right there and one right there. And I don't want to tear the label, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to open this one up to show the insides. So yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But anyways, let's see, we'll just leave it up, everything on. That should be Adventure, so pop that in. I actually never played Adventure. There's a bunch of Atari games that I've never played, so let's give it a quick shot here. Let's switch to... oh yeah, it's already on the right input. It's if I turn it on, I don't know if it's going to automatically switch. Wait, it's already on. Whoops. Let's try it again. And I will have to hit the switch over here to switch inputs. Okay, and I just realized that this LED here is not coming on. Well, that's a bit concerning. All right, let's disconnect everything. What did I do? Okay, I'm wondering if maybe it just doesn't like the Steam Deck power supply, so I took the cable that it came with. I'm going to plug that in, and I'm going to hook it up to just like a standard 1 amp 5 volt power supply with a USB connector. If I could get that in over here. There it is. Okay, put the cartridge back in. on. Oh, there it goes. But I don't see anything happening with this LED in the front here. It's on. Yeah, so there's that white LED. It's just, I mean, it's very, very, very subtle. It doesn't even look like it's on in here. So I guess if the room was darker, for sure would be able to tell that that Atari logo there is lit up. But I gotta get this. Come back out. There it goes. Okay, so yeah, let's see. Start. That doesn't do anything. Game reset. Oh, I just realized I don't have any audio. There you go. Should have audio now. I had to enable it. What do I do? I pick up this key. I'm guessing that's a spear. Do I need that for something? Yeah, stab the seahorse. Wait, is that for Hobo Gods? Oh, I just realized that. So I guess it's kind of like a almost like an escape room type game where you have to like figure out what you got to do with the items you pick up. Like I said, I've never played this game, so I have no idea where I'm going or what I'm doing. So how about we try something else where I can at least show a little more action, because this game is going to take some getting used to. Now, Kaboom, I can't play because this requires the paddle joysticks, and I think I have some, but I don't know where they are. I'd have to dig those up. Defender, let's try Berserk. I used to love this game when I was a kid too, so pop that in. So get this back to the other input. It's there we go, it's loading. Takes its sweet time. Okay. So yeah, this is, I mean, it's working great. It's just looks kind of weird with everything all stretched out. What happens if I hit the switch while it's running? Oh, it changes it. That's cool. So this isn't going to be like a long play or anything like that. I just wanted to test it out, see how well it works. And yeah, unlike the original Atari 2600 where you just pop the cartridge in and it immediately comes up, it does take like a few seconds to load it up. There we go, got him. So yeah, it's anyway. All right, so yeah, this video was just meant to be more of a teardown of the new Atari 2600 Plus, and so I hope that was at least somewhat interesting. And thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys around the bench.